Welcome to the greatest place in the world, and that's my doghouse. No better place to be than here, as far as I'm concerned. This is going to be a little bit about who I am. I know a lot of people won't be on here right now, but that's fine. Who I am is the person you see. I I don't pretend to be this great, wonderful person. I am me. I'm not going to try to be somebody I am not. I never have, and I will never go down that path of being somebody I'm not. I grew up in the middle of the desert virtually. Both ranches were out close together, but they were out a ways from everything else. The biggest town was 22 people. That was close to 30 miles, I think, 25 to 30 miles away. And where the bus went in and out to pick us up when we went to Arco was close to 50. The bus didn't go in and out, it would have been closer. But that's me. That's exactly what I was and did in school growing up. I'm not ashamed of where I grew up. I mean, there's like 55 in our graduating class, thereabouts. So it wasn't very big. I was never really bullied. All of us have people that are kind of annoying to us, but as actually being bullied, I was not. Like in junior high and high school. I wasn't Mr. Famous. I was just kind of a neutral, really, and I wasn't famous. Wasn't this bad person. Whenever I'd out and do something, and somebody would complain in school, they would either say, "Oh, that's just Darwin," or "That's just Yogi." Some called me Yogi. Some called me by my name. But that's just how it was. I mean, well, and it's kind of funny because I know people that were treated bad. I know people that were treated good in school. But this is who I am. I grew up on a ranch, grew up around cattle and sheep, horses. Uh, Kind of a hard life in a lot of ways for a kid. See, I'm from a big family, but time everybody was gone, it was just me because my little sister quit school. My bigger, older brother than me quit school, and I was the only one left at home. And I grew up around adults for several years. Outside of communication in school, it was adults. There just wasn't any kids around, because we was so far off of everything. I'm not complaining because that is who I am, but I'm not complaining at all. I loved it. I'd give it up for nobody. Matter of fact, if it wasn't for certain conditions now, I'd probably go out in the middle of nowhere and enjoy it. I don't dislike people by any means, but I don't like to be around a lot at one time. I know when I've gone to Vegas a few times, it usually takes me a couple hours to adjust because I don't like all the people. But when I'm adjust, I'm okay. Even now, if I get in a big crowd, I gotta kind of sit back and adjust, and I'm fine. It's just when you're not used to being or one around a lot of people, this will happen. Nothing wrong with that. That's just how I was and how I am. I'm not going out here and sugarcoat what I do or what I don't do. In life, I've done quite a few things. I mean, the last thing before I retired, I was doing fire extinguishers and restaurant hood system service and repair. And for any of you out there or know of anybody that has campers, they used to put and still do BC extinguishers. Get rid of that. You need a ABC because A is for wood. If you look at a BC extinguisher, you're going to find out it don't cover wood. It's just something I never knew that until I started working around that stuff. And there was two of us go out for the most part. Sometimes I'd be on my own. So a lot of times it'd be two of us. And it's so spread out where I live. It's not like a lot of people have these big cities and these not. You got a lot of room to travel. So you spend a lot of time driving, which I didn't mind it. Once again, I was working with one person out a lot. I worked in potato processing plants, leading them on a granule line, making granules. Boring as hell as far as I'm concerned. I didn't really want it, but the money was good. I used to, when I was doing the fire extinguishers, I was a manager of some apartments. His boy was going take over in a couple of years when he got back off his mission. And he kind of talked me into it. I didn't want to, but I did it for him, which was okay. I got extra money besides the extinguishers. Kind of kept me busy, but that's what I did. And I used to work for the mall itself, not one of the stores. The people that owned the mall here in Idaho Falls did that for about 6 or 7 years in maintenance. And that can be a babysitting job a lot of the times, too, by the way. Sorry, people, you can be a pain in the butt. And that's just the way it was, you know. And what I hated about it, I was the guy that had to make sure all the Christmas lights and everything were up and running. That was so bad. I started like in end of September, first part of October to have all this ready. Make sure all the strings of lights worked, and if there was something missing, I had to tell the manager, facility manager, what it was, and he'd tell the general manager and get things going that way. So when Christmas time come, it kind of boring. Not boring, it got old fast because I was starting it so early. But that's what I did. Now, like I said, I don't like being around a lot of people. I like being around people. I got a lot of good friends. A lot of people tell me what they think of me. No, I got a lot that think of me not in a good way too. I think we all go through that though. I've never been to jail, never been to prison, never been arrested, and I'm 66 years old. So I guess my parents did something right with me. I grew up in a home that not so much my dad, but my mother was 100% Christian. And I'm not just saying that because it was my mother. She was 100% Christian. Matter of fact, you even on the ranch, I probably didn't see her in a pair of pants a dozen times. She said a lady was a lady and she had to wear a dress. There was a few times she couldn't get away with wearing a dress, but then she would wear a pair of pants. But she believed a woman was a woman, a man's a man, and that's how it was. Um, and a good, and she believed in Christianity 100%. She did not drink coffee. She drank very little stuff with caffeine in. She tried to avoid it. Her favorite pop was Hires root beer, and that if that was around, that's all she'd drink. She'd drink 7 Up and stuff like that, but she preferred Hires root beer. And I grew up around that, and I grew up around a situation in the first place until I was in third grade, through third grade, I should say, that uh, we had a wood cook stove. We had an electric one, but mom always liked to use the wood cook stove. The best bread, best scones, best biscuits you could ever have was off that wood stove. I miss that a lot. And my mom was really old fashioned. Like I said, her beliefs were you cook most of your stuff at home. You didn't go out and buy unnecessary things that you could do at home. Bread made at home. Later on, when it was just the three of us, my dad, mom, and me, then she kind of backed off on homemade bread all the time because she only make big batches. But her noodles, I didn't like noodles, and I still don't. She would not buy a noodle out of a store. They always had to be homemade. She refused to buy any type of noodles out of a bag. If she couldn't make them, she didn't want them. And probably 90%, 85, 90% of the food we had was not canned. You had the vegetables and that. We had a big garden for quite a while, and she'd use stuff out of that and canned stuff that way. Our vegetables like corn and peas and that was in the can, but she didn't believe in buying a lot of things that she could bake herself because that's what a lady does in her mind. Good morning there, Nikki. And it's funny too because I don't think that way, but like I said, she was 100% a real Christian. And what I mean by that is even us kids, we had to go to church when she went to church when we was small. But when we was bigger, it was all up to us. She did not have the right. She had the right to tell us that she wanted us to go, but she wouldn't. That was our choice, and she knew that. And because of what she believed, it had to be our choice, not hers. And it was kind of funny with my mom. She was about 5 foot tall, redhead, real redhead, not a redhead out of a bottle. But you listen to her. She had 10 kids, so and I didn't realize it as growing up how much people had really liked her. She was my mom, but even to this day, people tell me how much they love my mom, and it's something I didn't realize. It's something that was just there, and as a kid, you don't think about things like that. But she was so much loved, more than what I ever thought, because I'm a kid. I don't She cooked at a one-room schoolhouse with us. And I went to the one-room schoolhouse for the first 3 years of schooling, and she was a cook there. Then through the sixth grade, from fourth through sixth, we went to a two-room schoolhouse. True story. Then when later on, going into Arco, and anybody that don't believe this, look up Arco, Idaho, the first city in the world to be lit by atomic energy. And by the way, I tell people this all the time. Don't believe the thing of the radiation. We don't glow that much at night. We're okay. We don't glow. If we do, it's very dim. But the county I lived in was where the site was, and it was huge. It's one of the biggest counties if you look in Idaho, but one of the poorer counties. Yes, there's people with a lot of money that live in that place, and it's spread out so far, but the population just wasn't there. You think a site would bring more people in? They just didn't want the people there. Now they where I live now is at the time Navy. Yeah, there was a Navy out there too. All lived in Idaho Falls the majority of the time. The only thing the site did for that county that they're in, and they still do, is if there's a fire and they need help, the site has to respond. Yes, they have to respond. They don't pay taxes on that ground out there. That hurts them financially too. Even the police officers out there don't get a lot of money. That's just where I grew up and how I grew up. And afterwards, didn't even get married until I was like 27, 28. And I've been married to the same woman ever since. And yeah, she has Alzheimer's, and I have to deal with that. But that's okay. That's just how life goes. I can't change it, but I can be there for her. I used to go out in my 20s, early 20s. I partied a lot then, but I seldom ever have a drink now. Just not worth it to me. No, I didn't spend all my money. I like food too much, so that was priority and rent. Now, my place is, I'm not a rich person, not even close to being rich. My, being, both me and my wife being retired, the best thing is that our place is paid for. It's definitely not a luxury home. It's a mobile home, two pushed together. And I bought it that way and on its own land, all paid for. I come out in my dog house here. I call it my dog house. It's it's fun being in here. I don't People think I'm boring, but that's okay. I can't be somebody I'm not. I've lived a life but not someone glamorous life. I lived a good life and I got a lot more to do in life. So I'm not out here trying to be some big star or anything else on here or anything like that. I know that people get on here and all they see is the money. I'm not into the money. I mean, I'd take it if I was monetized, which I'm not, by the way. And when that time comes, I don't know if I will or will not. I have not decided. I'm getting a little closer on hours wise, so I do think about it, but it's not a priority. I know it's there. At some point, I'll have to decide how much I want to go because I probably put out 5 or 6 shorts a day, more than I'm on live. And most of the when I'm on podcasts are short podcasts. They're not very long, but that's just, and I'm doing it because I like doing it. I mean, here's some things though that happen. And people are so dumb. I get called old man, pops, but there are some that come on here and say, "You're my internet dad," or "You talk like my grandpa," which is fine. They're not insulting me or trying to. And by the way, when people out there insult you because of your age, it's not an insult. It's a badge of honor because you have accomplished a lot more than a lot of people have. And I'm not a thrill seeker or anything like that. I'm not going to tell you I went up there and I whooped this person or I did this or I'm so wonderful. I don't do that. I don't go that way. I'm who I am. I say what I want and how I say it. And it's not a mean thing either. I think some of my siblings kind of annoyed because I say what I want to say and they don't get it to control me. See, I'm number 9 for mom and number 11 for my dad because he had to before he married my mom. But they kind of have a hard time dealing with that sometimes. But I tell you what, I got a lot of nieces and nephews, and we get along. My brothers and sisters get along pretty good. The ones that are still alive, we don't get to see each other like we would. But I tell you what, I got nieces and nephews out there that thinks I'm the greatest uncle they have. They're saying that, not me, because I don't think I am, but in their eyes. See, I'm not going. That's another thing I don't do. I'm not going to get on here and say I'm this wonderful guy. I'm this good guy. Y'all have to be like me. I'm better than nobody. Get that? I am better than nobody. I was created to be who I am. I wasn't created to be better than other people. It just don't work that way with me. I was even that way in school, you know. Maybe I think about it the wrong way, but that's fine. Like I said, I'm who I am. I don't shave today. I don't care. If I want to shave, I shave. If I don't, I don't. I'm not here to impress anybody in that regards. I put out shorts and I get really, really good comments on them. And when I talk about certain things of people on here, I'll get criticized because they think I'm offending their buddy. And that happens too. Where my shorts, a lot of people, I don't get criticized a whole lot with them. But I'll tell you what, I refuse to be somebody I am not. I don't get it. People are out there trying to be somebody they are not. Why do you want to be somebody you're not? Why do you want to act like you're somebody you're not? I'm who I am and I ain't changing for nobody. I'm not a mean person. I'm not a vindictive person. Well, I was kind of vindictive at times to my siblings, but you know how that goes. And as kids, we do stupid things. It's not like right now. I used to get a laugh. We had this one room. The boy, three boys lived in the basement or had bedrooms, and it was nice. It wasn't a dungeon or nothing, but they had like a little storage area that was off to the side. Throw stuff in there or whatever. Or my mom kept boxes and stuff in there. It wasn't to sleep in because the other took care of that. But my brothers had me convinced the boogeyman lived in there. And I'd play outside. I never comprehended it as a kid. They'd grab me and throw me in there because they had me convinced the boogeyman lived there and he hated humans. They'd throw me in there. I'd be screaming and hollering, and they'd be out laughing. That's Big Brothers for you. And in one place, we had this, and it used to scare the hell out of me for the longest time. This great big old white hoot owl. I used to play with my Tonka trucks under this tree, and this great big old hoot owl would come and stare at me, and I'd leave. I did this for quite a while. Then I realized he wasn't going to hurt me. He was just there staring at me for whatever reason. And I'd go ahead and play with my trucks after a while. It's still eerie seeing this great big hoot owl with them big eyes. But eventually, and I'd leave and it would leave. Then when I moved to another place, we did another ranch. Not the same one, but another hoot owl would be out where I was if it wasn't by the house. And he'd just fly in the trees and watch me. I'd leave, he would leave. Even though I wasn't scared and like I figured it was going to attack me at that point, them big eyes just got to me every time. Very scary to me. You know, like I said, when I got older, it was like, even as a kid, when I figured out that big old hoot owl wasn't there, white hoot owl wasn't going to hurt me, then it was fine. But I got advantage growing up on a ranch that a lot of people don't ever have, and that's closeness to my mom and dad, and that does matter, and my siblings too. And like I said, I don't get to see a lot of them anymore. Some have passed away, some are still there, obviously, being one of the last ones born, others before you're going to pass. It's never easy, but it's just part of life. But yeah, I'm not one to go out and bully people. I don't start fights. Matter of fact, walk away from a fight, and I ignore some things that maybe shouldn't be ignored. I do that, and I give them myself big time, and I really do. I'll sacrifice something I need to help somebody out, not by words, but by actions. I do that all the time, and people take advantage of me at times. And I've even had people, "Why do you do that? They're going to take advantage of you." Well, it's better than not helping at all. When they take advantage of me, then I don't. But I'll give my heart to anybody to help them. And I really do. This is not words. I do this by actions. I'll give up something I need done now to help somebody else. That's just the way I was raised and taught. See, when on the ranch, if somebody was hurt at another ranch or something, you went and helped them out. Whether it was with the cattle, mainly working with the cattle and that, needed the extra help, you went and helped. You did it because that's the way you do things. And that's the way I was raised. So even to this day, at 66 years old, I'll still do that. And like I said, I'm not rich. I don't have hardly any money. But where things are paid for, it makes it easier. I'm not complaining. I have food on the table. I have a good home, and that's important. And I'm not criticizing anybody that has had to do this in the past or future. I have never, ever received one food stamp. Never been on a food stamp program. Never government money to help me out. I went out and did it on my own. And when I married, my wife and I were out there. And yes, I have given food to people in need of food out of my own house because that's just the type of person I am. I'm not a great, wonderful person at all. I'm just a human being that realizes people need help at times. Every one of us need help at times. Even today, somebody willing to help me out, I'd let them help me out, or vice versa. But where I like to be alone a lot, I don't, our small groups makes it a little hard for some people to realize that. I'm not against them. I'm not better than them. That's just the way I like to do things. Even going out, I never like to be with a big group of people. Smaller groups were okay. And I did. That's what I did. That's who I am. I'm not going to be somebody I am not. And I just don't get that with people. They think they have to be somebody they are not. You don't have to be. You have to like yourself. If somebody is offended how you are, and believe me, when you have more of a positive attitude, it happens a lot more. They will hate you, they will despise you, but you are doing the right thing by what you're doing, by being who you are. We need to get back to being who we are. We don't need to be this phony person out there doing phony things. We don't, we just don't need that. Nobody. And if a person I really didn't like, I'd say the same thing to them. There's a difference between being who you are and being a menace. Because I see people on here, that the only reason they're on here, and it's fine to go make money and get on here and make money. All the more power to these people. All the more power to every one of you that do that. That's a good thing. Going out here and making money and is more versatile than it used to be, go out and do it. But you don't need to lie, cheat, and steal to make your money. And there's people on here that'll start crap with other people because chaos does make money. Chaos really does. And, look, and I've said this a few times, look at pro wrestling. If everybody was kumbaya and went out there kumbaya, there was no controversy. Would people watch it? No. Therefore, if you have controversy, even on here on channels, you will get more activity because of negativity than you do positive. If you're a positive person wanting positive things, you won't get the views that some of these others. And I'm not against them. Like I said, the more power to them to do it. But when you have to lie and sacrifice people to do it, that is wrong. You don't need to do that. Yeah, it's a shortcut being negative and putting people down and things like that. Yeah, it's a shortcut to make money faster, and you will make money faster, but it's not necessary. I've seen people on here with positive attitudes and they do just fine. And like I said, I'm not monetized, but I see these people out there. And I've seen people on here that will never be monetized and they got thousands and thousands of viewers, subscribers, because that's what they want to do, not be monetized. Some that do make some good money, some of them. Some of them make a little, some a lot. Go for it. If this is what you want to do to make money, go make the money you want to make. And I'm not saying run over people to do it like some do on here, that because that's disgusting. You can do it. It may not be illegal, but it's not ethical or morally right. You can do it without going down that road. You just have to be a little bit more inventive if that's what you want to do. It's there and you can do it. So many people are on here and they just want to destroy themselves, really. They don't realize that, but that's what they're doing. I can't do that. I cannot go out and destroy somebody for money. That's never going to be me. I just not going to go down that aisle to do that. I'd rather be a piece of garbage in the corner than to do that. And that is me. That's not anybody else. That is me. I got nieces and nephews and all that, 5, 6 generations deep. Some of them I haven't even seen, and they think I'm the best person in the world. Now, like I said, that's not me. I don't necessarily believe that because I'm better than nobody. I'm not better than any of my brothers and sisters. Zero. But if they want that feeling, that's up to them to do. All the more power to them. And I know because I'm on. See, this is another thing. I'm being me. 66 on YouTube. So many people get offended by older people. And I have nothing against the younger people at all. They have more against me than I have against them anytime. But I look at my algorithms, and that's picking up 18 to 24 or whatever that one statistic is. It's growing. I'm surprised because I really thought 55 and older is where the majority of my viewers or subscribers would come from, which is still the truth, but I'm surprised the 18-year-olds are picking up. It's a pleasant surprise. It's a good surprise. But like I said earlier, there's still them that if you're old, they're offended if you say anything. They're not smart enough to figure they're going to be old one day. They really don't set and comprehend that at all. I do not want to go back being young. No way in hell I want to go through that. I don't regret my life at all, but I'm here where I'm at and I need to go forward, not backwards. And we also take that perspective in life. We would be so much better if we did. We do not need to go backwards. We need to go forwards. And that's just who I am. I know other people will say the complete opposite of me, but I just can't be somebody I'm not. I'm not going out here and be somebody I'm not. If people are offended by that, they're offended by that. They can call me names or whatever they want. I'm not changing who I am to satisfy them. Even if it meant money, I'm not changing to satisfy them. People need to be who they are and not be somebody they are not. So many people give themselves up for money instead of love or anything else, or be on here just because they want to be on here. People will sacrifice anything for money. Even around here, I've worked with people. They were willing to sacrifice who they were for the extra dollar in their pocket. That extra dollar meant more to them than themselves. And yeah, I've worked around people like that. They have become that money means more to them than God than themselves. That money even controls them. In life, you should control the money, not the other way around. You should not let money control you. Stupid thing. Stopped on me for a sec. But really, we come on here, we try to be somebody we're not. And like I said earlier, I don't get it. If I offend somebody because I who I am, because I'm a very positive person out here, I do get negative at times, but overall, even when I go out, have coffee, everybody says I'm positive. I don't sit there and complain to the waitresses. I have coffee every morning. I don't criticize them for what they're doing, and they like that. And that's just who I am. I'll open the door for people. I say please and thank you all the time to the waitresses. I'll open the door. I don't care, man, female, I don't care. I'll open the door. If somebody needs a little help, I'll run out and help them by actions, not words. A lot of people spew these words, but they're just words. They won't go out and do it by actions. It doesn't take somebody that much more time to open the door. They see somebody, open the door and let them go in. It doesn't take a bit longer to say thank you. And I do that by actions. And that's just who I am. I'm not going out there and coddle somebody to satisfy them. Now, if I was being evil and wrong, then they have a legitimate argument. In other words, I'm not that person that's out there doing that. I'm being who I am. I respect people. I treat people like a human being. If I have a problem with somebody, I usually just turn the other way. I don't need to confront somebody I do not like. I may have an opinion, and believe me, I'll express it, but I don't put them down by going and turning them in for this or turning them in for that. That's garbage. You got to be who you are. When you're not who you are, people do realize it and they walk away. And and when them people are out there that tries to be somebody they are not, they deserve other people to walk away from them because you cannot get caught in that type of situation. It's just wrong for you to go down that road. And some people with a negative and a Lucifer attitude, I call it, will get others to follow them. I don't care if the person is male or female, they can get others to follow them. They're just like a snake oil salesman in the olden days. They will get people to follow. But I'm not that person. I couldn't do that. I found $100 bill on the ground and give it back by actions, not words. We need to follow things up by action. And I did that a couple of 3 times. Found money, picked up, and said, I found this. I'm not going to pocket it. I'm not putting it in my pocket. Even if I was hungry, I wouldn't do that. Actions, not words. And too many of us live by words and not actions. Everybody can spew out words all the time, but we need actions within words. At least I do. That's who I am. I've sacrificed a lot to help others. And you know what? I've never asked for a dime when I've done that. And have I needed help and need help? Yeah. Do I ask for it? No. I'll take care of it myself. But if somebody else is there needing that help, I will help them by action, not words. I'm taking care of my wife. She's still not bad, but she does have Alzheimer's, and it gets a little worse and a little worse. But I'm there for her. It's not a made up story. It's exactly what's happening. I've never, ever, ever asked for help. I'll take care of it myself by actions, not words. How many of you really think that words will get things done without actions? Politicians are good at words, very little action. And I don't care whether you're left or right. They spew a bunch of words and have no actions with their words. I got a neighbor that's not right close to me, but everything out of this guy's mouth is how, what, and who he does, and all this. They're all words. He has no actions with them. He's a pretty good storyteller, and I like listening to his stories, but I do know that they're words and not actions. Think about it. How many times have you seen that in your life where people are willing to go out there and spew a bunch of words, but they don't want to take action at all? All of us live through that, and we all do that to a point. But with me, I have to take action when I say this stuff. I'm not out there to have my back patted on the back for what I do for others. I just won't do that. I'm doing it because I need to do it, and I know this is what I have to do. $0. I don't want people patting me on the back for it when I do something good like that, because that's not even my intentions on doing it. Is that somebody needs help, and I'll help them. My little terrier's out there barking away. He barks, and my coonhound don't bark, but I definitely can hear him in the here. It People need to realize you words can hurt, but words cannot solve the problem. Actions is what solves the problem. When we have them actions, we are a very, very better off person in life. And that's just who I am. I know people, the last thing they want to do is help somebody. That's all well and fine for them, but don't expect me not to go help somebody in need. I don't care if they're young or old. If they need help, they need help. and I'm willing to go out and do that. I'm not ashamed to go out and do it. I do it because it's the right thing to do. And yes, sometimes I sacrifice what I should do for myself for others. That's because who I am. I'm not out here trying to be somebody I'm not, is what I'm getting at. I'm not going out here and pretend I'm this wonderful guy because I'm not this wonderful guy. I'm not a wonderful guy. I'm a human being trying to do the right thing, but I ain't so wonderful that the whole world's going to bow down to my feet. I don't even want that. I don't need to be a great popular person to do the right thing. I don't want to be a popular person either. I just want to be who I am, doing what I need to do, and helping others. Even in school, I'd help others. Even now, I help others by actions. See, we got to go back to actions and just not words. Like you said, words can hurt in certain situations, but the remedy to that is by actions. Too many people out there think making money is more important than being a human being. And that is sad. We have gotten to that point in life. I wish we have never gotten that far. Why is it we think we got to have money over being decent? A lot of people with money are decent and great people, and all the more power to them. They've gone out for the most part, worked hard, earned hard, and they're out there doing the good in life. All the more power they need, and all the more encouragement they need. But me, it's all about what I am doing and what I have to do. Sometimes I have to do things that I know is right. I necessarily don't want to do them, but I will do them because it is the right thing to do. I'm not going to take a back seat to anybody. And no, I'm not better than anybody. I'm not going to say me, me, me. This is all about me because this world isn't about me. It's about helping other people. It's being a good citizen and a good role model to others around me. That is what's important. That's more important than money in so many ways. Not that everybody wants money, that's a good thing, but you have to love yourself. You have to be able to go out there and do what you think is right. Don't sacrifice yourself for money. It's not worth it because you can go out and make money without sacrificing yourself. Yes, it may take you a little longer, but you can do it. I hope anybody that gets on here just go look at my shorts. That's where my big thing is. It's not a lot on here. It's me doing the shorts, and I appreciate it though. Shorts are fun for me. Don't take long, and I get really good compliments on them. In this case, it is by words, but and everybody likes to get compliments. Don't get me wrong, but still, you have to go out and do what you know is right. How many of you turn your back on somebody because you didn't like them or whatever? I had this lady before I had this place. I had another mobile home, but it was not on its own land. It was on a rented lot, which I was so glad to get a place all in one. But I couldn't stand her. She'd snoop in the windows when we weren't home. She'd inspect the yards. She had no damn business to do. But when it come time, she was an older lady. But you know what? When her roof was leaking and needed a retard up there and put a new coating on her roof, It was me that got up there and did it. Not for her to like me, because I really didn't care for her, but she needed it done, and I could do it. And I did it, not by words, but by actions. We need to get back to that, more actions. And sometimes you just have to, even if you don't like somebody really or care for them, you don't have to like them. If they need help, they need help. Helping people don't have to necessarily do with how much you like them. It has to do with helping people in need of help. And I worked at the mall here, as maintenance. There's a guy, I didn't hate him. He lived a couple blocks away from me anyway. We got along at work great. We worked great together. I never went and visited him or nothing like that, really. A couple of times he wanted something, I'd take it over to him. But we weren't buddies outside of work. We were acquaintances. We never argued, but you don't have to. You have to be yourself because he was totally opposite of me, and I think that kind of rubbed some people the wrong way. Even my family. I mean, like I said, we get along, but sometimes I rub people the wrong way in my family, not because I'm being mean, vile, or anything else. It's just my ideals. I don't back down hardly. I'm not a vicious person at all. And a good example of that is before I was married, I had my older brother needed a place a couple of times, and I opened up my home to him so he had a place to live. My little sister was pregnant. Well, the second time. The first time she needed a place, I let her have it. The second time she was pregnant and had a baby, I opened my house to her. Neither one of them appreciates me for doing that, or at least they don't say it. Doesn't mean we don't get along, because we do. But but I didn't do it to get patted on the back. I did it because it was the right thing to do. And I've had people, even my wife and I, had people move into our house because it's in a rock and a hard spot till they got back on their feet and they were out on their own. That's by actions, not words. That's just the type of person I am. And like I said, not one person in this world am I better than. God didn't make me to be better than. He put me here to be me. He put you here to be who you are if you believe in God. Even if you don't believe in God, you still have a purpose in life, regardless. And you have to fulfill that purpose. I really believe that. And I got a long ways to go in my heart and help others before it's my time. Eventually, I will be gone, but I'm going to do everything I can to fulfill what I'm supposed to fulfill. I'm not, that doesn't make me a wonderful person. That makes me doing what I have to do. If I have to sacrifice somebody, that's BS. I'm not going to put anybody down to make money. That's not happening. I'm not going to sit here and make fun of people because I can make money if I do. I joke around with some things, but I mean, put them down and just destroy their lives to get the dollar. That's not me, and I will not do that. I don't get how people do that. And some people, no, not everybody does it for money. Some people just so deceiving and hateful that don't have money, they still want to do that. They want to make themselves look better than the next person, and that's impossible because that person actually hates themselves more than they hate the person they're trying to take down. They are so miserable inside, they just don't know how to comprehend life. Me, like I said, I'm not better than anybody. And I'll keep saying that because I really believe that. I'm not here to compare myself to Trump's money or Elon's money, or that's all them. I had nothing to do with that. I'm not trying to be like them or never would. They probably got more money in their wall safe than I'll ever make. But I have to be who I am. Everybody here should be who they are. If you're evil and vile person, yeah, you need to change and turn out to be a better person. But overall, you need to be who you are. Even that vile and disgusting person knows he or she is not doing what they're supposed to do and are not being themselves. Evil is not themselves. Evil is a way of life. Evil is an option you choose and nobody else. You can't blame the devil. You can't blame anybody else. When you choose the life of evil, it is on you. It's not even on your spouse, it's on you. If your spouse goes along with it, that's on her or him. We got to get back to the idea that nobody is better than anybody. We do things better and some do them worse. Yeah. If you have a problem with somebody, it's just better to walk away. There's sometimes you can't. I agree with that. Somebody told me that. But them are far and few. There's always an exception, and there always is going to be an exception. But we have to fight through that exception. We can't bring ourselves down to that person's level or anybody. You do not follow other people because you think they're cool. You follow people because you want to. You want to work with people. You want to have fun with people and go out, enjoy yourself. It's because you want to, and you're doing it because it's who you are. You don't have to be a phony for this to work. And yeah, I got a friend, he has to be a phony. He's a good person, don't get me wrong. I don't dislike him, but you can tell when he's around people with money and stuff like that, he becomes one of the biggest phonies you'll ever see. And he don't need to. And when he's around like me and all that, he's not that way. He's not a bit phony. But whatever it is, he sees somebody with money, he sees that he can make money or whatever, totally changes. Money becomes his ruler, not him ruling money. And it really does happen. And he ain't the one. I see it all the time. But I can't go down that road. I really can't. I'd like to somebody explain to me why I should. I'm not going to change just to change. That's so stupid. Why would you do that in life? And that goes for anybody. You don't need to change. Be who you are. You don't need to be somebody you are not. And that's why I said this is who I am at the beginning. I'm not sugarcoating anything here. I'm not making anything up I've said, but this is who I am. And I'm not going to change for anybody. If you think I'm going to change if I had a lot of money or get money, it's not going to happen. I'm going to still be who I am. I'm not ashamed of who I am. And that's the key right there. You cannot be ashamed of who you are, or you should not be ashamed of who you are. I'm not changing for anybody. I'm doing nothing wrong. If I do something wrong, I'm going to change and try to make it better. 100% go and do that. And I do that every day of my life. I say, why am I doing this? This is not right. And I change because that's who I am. I'm not this person out here trying to be a wonderful guy because that's not who I am. You're either going to like me or you're not going to like me, but that's who I am. I'm not going to lose any sleep over somebody likes me or don't like me. Believe me, I'm going to sleep either way. But I have to be that person I know I am inside me. I cannot do anything but that. I love this world. I love the people in this world. I'm glad I'm here for a purpose in life, and I'm not going to waste that by greed. And believe me, I really, really don't have money. I'm not, like I said earlier, I'm not starving. I have money to, I'm not going to worry about having money month to month, but I really don't have any extra. Like, if my wife ever gets bad enough she has to go in a home, then I'm not going to have any. And that's just the way it is. But I will still survive. I will still come out on top because that's the only way I know how to live. I'm not giving my soul up for money. God guides me because I do believe in God. No, I don't go to church. I don't throw religion in people's face. That's not what this is about. But you have to be who you are. You can't just say, I'm this great person. Prove it. Because I'm not a great person. I really am not. I'm a human being that needs to do certain things. I'm not better than anybody in a sense. Yeah, there's people that do bad things. You are wind up being better than them. But overall, nobody is better than anybody. We have to take one step forward at a time in this life, and we need to do it. And the way you get that accomplished is you being who you are, not somebody you are not. You have to read out of it and be who you are. Thanks a lot, people. See you next time.